Hey, in this episode of Ask Aaron, I'm going to share with you why understanding brand versus non-brand is absolutely vital for your success. Let's get into it. So look, just this week, I was having a conversation with a prospective client and this topic once again came up and I thought I've just got to share this because I repeat myself so often. So look, firstly, when I'm talking brand versus non-brand, what do I actually mean? Well, I'm talking everything. I'm talking traffic, I'm talking visibility, I'm talking revenue, I'm talking organic, I'm talking paid, everything. Understanding your brand versus non-brand split is so important, and yet so many brands find this all a little bit confusing, it's a little bit woolly and they're not quite sure. The harsh truth, the reality is for so many brands, so much of their visibility, particularly organic, so I'm thinking more SEO, is branded, and yet they just don't know it. And what I mean by that, sort of, if you think of it the other way around, so little of brand's visibility is non-brand. So traffic where people don't know you, they're not searching for you, but maybe they're looking for your products or your services. Very few brands have the level of visibility that they think they have, or certainly the level of visibility that they would want when it comes to non-brand. So understanding this and really taking this into all facets of your marketing, both digital and otherwise, and really understanding the brand versus non-brand and asking those key questions of your agency, of whoever's in your team that's working on this stuff, is what is our brand versus non-brand split? So incredibly important. And I've got some examples that I want to share with you in this video. And it's true, as I say, it's true from both organic and paid, because also a common mistake that we see a lot is with the paid side of things, so Google, PPC, etc. So much of that is not set up correctly, so that brands are often unsure or just not aware of how much of that traffic, that visibility, is indeed coming in as branded traffic. And you add Performance Max into the mix on that, and it gets very messy very quickly, unless you've got those brand terms excluded and so on and so forth. So if you're wanting to understand your brand versus your non-brand split, what are some of the things that you can do? Well, in good Ask Aaron fashion, I've got some ideas here that I want to share with you. So, one of the first things and one of the easiest things you can do is across your analytics, across your own data, is speak to your techie guys, speak to your teams, and you want to get an understanding of the split between new versus returning. Now that won't exclusively tell you the brand versus non-brand, but it will give you a really good insight into how many new customers are we acquiring versus how many returning customers. Because if they're returning, naturally, you would agree, there's a far higher likelihood of them doing a branded search. Because if someone's coming back to rebuy the same product, another product, a recurring, whatever it might be, there's a far greater likelihood that they're going to be searching for a brand or a brand synonym or variant than they are for the product or the service once again, right? So understanding that, really simple to do, very effective, and gives a really interesting viewpoint on the data of, okay, well, actually only 10%, 20% of our visibility, our visibility, our traffic, our revenue, because you can apply it to all of these different metric levels, is new versus returning, whatever it might be. Really interesting, really simple to do. What else can you do? If we go a little bit technical for a minute, one of the things we like to do, which you can do in literally minutes, you could pause this video, go and do it, and then come back, is go into your Google Search Console account, pull up your website, look at your data, open it up for a good 12 to 16 months, and then go into the search for a query and then exclude your brand term. So in the narrowest version of your, the widest version of your brand. So if your brand's over 2 or 3 words, put in the core word, or you're gonna have to do a bit of jiggery-pokery with it. But essentially, if you exclude your brand term within GSC, it will give you a far greater sense. Let's say hypothetically you go into GSC and it says you've had 1 million impressions and you've had 50,000 clicks, hypothetically. Key thing to also do, if you only target in, say, the UK, then refine that by the UK, because that will give you straight away a better sense and a more accurate idea of the true numbers. Let's say that you do that and it whittles it down from 1 million impressions to 500,000, and your clicks drop to, say, from 50,000 to 40,000. Well, then what you want to understand from those 40,000 clicks is, well, how many of those are branded? Because that's great. We want those, we cherish those, but also we'll get a far better sense of how our business is growing if we can understand that. So if we exclude our brand, and the number of times where we exclude the brand, and that 40,000 drops down to 5,000 or drops down to 3,000, and you just kind of say, wow, a brand that is massively reliant on their brand search. When you take that to one side, in terms of new visibility, organically this is, if it's coming from GSC, it's going to be organic. If we look at that, very, very little. Okay, and that can serve as a conversation starter and say, well, what do we need to do? How are we going to go about changing this, improving this? So that's the second thing you can do. Third thing, look at your new customers in your CRM. Now, whatever CRM you're using, whatever systems you have as a brand, as a business, understanding that and really getting into an understanding, well, how many new customers, and depending on the setup you're using and the systems, sometimes you're able to reverse engineer that. Well, how did they find us? Which traffic sources did they come in via? And then some, you can really go to town, and some of our clients have got it set up so we can even see how they're searching and how they've interacted with the brand over multiple touch points. So analyze and ask questions of your existing data, because it can often throw up some really interesting things. And remember, all you're trying to get out of this is, what is our brand versus non-brand split? What else can you do? Well, you can also look at your top pages. Now, again, you can pull some of this out of Google Search Console. You can pull some of this out of analytics, be it GA3, GA4. It's all going to work in slightly different ways, but you can get the same data, and you can pull and get a sense of your pages, because again, almost always the number one visited page on your website will be your homepage. That's fine, but that's going to account for a huge proportion of your branded traffic. What you want to understand is go a bit deeper than that. What pages and categories and products and service pages are driving that visibility? What's ranking? Because again, once you understand that, you can take those pages, you can pop them into GSC, you can look at the queries that those pages are ranking for. You can also go and do an equivalent on the paid side and really understand which page is driving that visibility, and is that visibility, frankly, is it warm or is it cold? Is it new or is it returning? Is it branded? Is it unbranded? You can get into all this stuff, and it's so easy to do, but so important. And so few brands that I speak to really have this stuff nailed down. They're just not sure. And I have to then say, let us have access. We'll go and help you figure it out. And then you explain it back to them what the reality of the situation is. And they're so often just really surprised that, okay, I had no idea we were so heavily reliant on this, that, and the other. So the last one is on the paid side. Now, again, I could do a whole video on each of these things. But this one is really, really important. Now, again, a lot of brands have agencies. I mean, we run a lot of ad accounts. A lot of brands will have agencies running their ad accounts. Some better than others. The key thing for you to do is be challenging them on, well, what is our brand versus non-brand? Depending on what you're running, shopping, performance match, search, display, understanding what campaign types are running and how are they set up. Are we splitting brand versus non-brand? So important to do, because it's very easy for your data, your ROAS, your return on ad spend, your ROI to look really, really good or very, very poor if you include or exclude brand. So I'm not saying don't do it. We run branded campaigns for every single one of our clients that we run their ad accounts, but it's always separate to the non-brand. So we always have a separate, dedicated, whatever the discipline, whether it's shopping or whether it's display or search, whatever, we always have dedicated brand campaigns, because we know that traffic is going to be cheap. We know that traffic is going to convert at a higher likelihood than non-branded, because it's warm people, and we know a high proportion of that branded traffic is returning customers. So, and the story will be very much the same, I would imagine, for your brand. So make sure that you're splitting them. And then when you're in that, if you want to get a sense, something that you can do that we could literally go and pause this video and go do it right now, is go into your search report, your search terms report, for depending on the type of campaign you're running, and then look back over the last 3-6 months. Look at this. How are people searching? Are they coming in? Is it brand, or are you picking up traffic for your non-branded clicks, and actually things like, for products and services that you do want to rank for, that you say, yeah, that is a potential new customer, because they're looking for my product, for my service, for the solution that I can offer. Great, we want those. It's just good best practice to split them. I'll probably do a video on its own right in that, because it's quite an involved topic, but just at the very top level, that's how to think about it. So it's just a few things covered there. But the point I wanted to get across in this video is a lot of brands are not as clear as they should be when it comes to our brand versus non-brand split. So if that's you, if you can relate to this, if you're not sure on that split and what that looks like per channel, then go and ask some questions, dig into the data a little bit, because you might just be really, really surprised. And It's hugely empowering once you know that, because you can essentially see what's working for brand. You can obviously just focus, continue to do that. And the more you get, the key bit really is the more you get the non-branded stuff working and you can see what's not working or where the opportunities are, the more you do that, you will increase your non-branded visibility. But the big Brucey bonus on all of this is you will increase your brand awareness, which in turn will increase the branded searches because more people will know of you because they're finding you cold traffic, and that will then come in and increase the branded traffic of people that are finding you for that as well. And those are the cheap clicks. Those are the higher likelihood in terms of returning customers, repeat purchasing, etc., etc., etc. So I hope it's useful. That's just, you know, it's a conversation I have so frequently with brands that I thought I'd just share some of the key things that literally whenever I'm on a call I say, have you been into GSC? Have you looked at your search terms? Have we analysed your data? Do we know our new versus returning? So I thought I'd share it with you. Hope it's useful. If you have found it useful, I say we're very early stages in creating our YouTube account. It's a new account with finding our way through it. We're testing different sort of setups and putting a few videos out there. So if you have found this useful, I would be so incredibly grateful for any comments, feedback, and any sort of likes. And, you know, if you want to subscribe, that would be amazing. So thank you so much. Loads more videos coming soon that we're working on. Yeah, we'll keep them coming. I hope you're finding these useful. Thanks so much. Take care. All the best.